to be a classic. All right. I think we are about ready to reveal ourselves
We've
and
preambled enough
officially
preamble.
begin the show. And we are live.
Hey!
We've been live for, 8-10 minutes at least. Hello, everybody. Please welcome today my special guest, Liz Anderson,
Hello.
writer extraordinaire, incredibly talented improviser, friend of me occasionally.
Once a year, when the
Yes,
clock
I
rings.
was going to say, we have to produce content, and I'll be fine.
But it's truly,
That's my friendships.
that's all comedians, right? It's all podcasters. Like, oh, I love this conversation.
We got to pod it.
I could monetize.
Do you want to do a pod? Do you want to do a pod as the
This is
saddest?
a podcast.
Yeah.
This is a podcast.
I wish there was a better way to convince comedians and performers to hang out with you, but there really isn't.
Mhm.
There's just
No.
Can I get some time? Yeah, you better believe it. Well, then we're best friends. So, what experience do you have narratively with magic? Like when you were growing up, did you read like fantasy books or sci-fi books? What was your flavor of magic growing up?
Truly fantasy books. I was a very huge Lord of the Rings girl.
Okay.
Like everyone did Harry Potter, and
Sure, I lived
it was
through it.
inescapable at the time. But I turned to high fantasy more frequently. But the problem with high fantasy is that magic in high fantasy is so boring.
Yes.
It is like, oh, but I have to explain to you how it works. So
Totally.
you see, the magic is all alchemical, but you need all these. I wrote a second book about it. You read this book.
Right. Midichlorians was not unprecedented.
No.
Yeah.
Well, that's what George Lucas says. George Lucas says that it is not sci-fi; it is space fantasy.
Right.
Which that is incorrect. It is sci-fi.
Which, go fuck yourself. How about that, George Lucas?
Shut the fuck up. But they are knights and magicians and just happen to be in space. I see where he gets it from, but he is wrong.
Right. It's hard not to argue that the Jedi could be called a space wizard, in a heartbeat. Right.
Absolutely.
The thing about Lord of the Rings and high fantasy magic is also one of the things that I hate about magic is that it's almost always purely Deus Ex Machina. It's if you need magic, holy shit, magic can do it.
Whoa!
But also, Aragorn needs to walk for 1,000 miles.
Yes.
That doesn't make sense.
There can only be like 3 people who can do magic,
right.
because and they're very, very good at it.
Right.
But otherwise, like, they can't do everything, because if everyone could do it, then this would all be a lot easier, wouldn't it?
Right. Yeah, totally. The thing that kills me is always the magic person who can do one magic thing exactly. Like Elrond can heal you of exactly this problem.
Fantastic.
Lives forever, solves this problem. Don't need to worry about him again.
Galadriel can kind of look in the future, maybe.
Yes.
Don't worry about it. That's it. But also, they can't get involved, and they choose not to. Choose not to use their powers.
A vague warning is a large series of magic for Lord of the Rings, that kind of thing.
Someone will betray you. Well, like I know 20 people. There's so many people who that could be.
That guy's named fucking Judas. Yeah, I know who I'm going to betrayed, okay?
I think I got it. Thank you, though.
Even I'm self-aware in this novel. What did you graduate to? What did you graduate to from Lord of the Rings? You can't stick with. You're not gonna go through the Silmarillion and not move on.
Yeah. I loved kind of diving into young adult books. There goes through all of its eras, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's like horny romance, there's dystopia, but there was like a very slim moment in YA of uh court dramas and magic dramas
Mhm.
and sort of medieval versions, like, but before, like, a little bit pre-Twilight, and that was kind of what I graduated to see, like, oh, what what if it were women?
Like,
What if women
what are you talking
were
about? Were you into a series? Were you into like the Dragonlance novels or that, or the
what
like? Did you read the Forbidden Realms, like that kind of thing, or
there was the Abhorsen series, if you were
never heard of it? Tell me all
Garth
about
Nix.
it.
Necromancers, baby.
Love
What if
it.
necromancers were like the most important person? They were like the president,
Sure.
because
Well, I mean,
dead
if you can
people,
bring back the dead,
yeah. There's that, and then the Golden Compass, which is like, it's completely separate. That doesn't have
totally.
anything to do. But Golden Compass is inadaptable, and they keep on trying to do it,
Poorly.
and because the first book is not that good,
Nope.
unfortunately. But you have to start there every time.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason people like the series is the second and third book, where they like are blatantly anti-Catholic and blatantly like uh just anti-government, anti-capitalist. But
Yeah.
the first book is all about polar bears and
Yeah, my theory on how to handle the Golden Compass is to start with like the middle of the second book where everybody starts to really care, and then
yeah,
use the first book as flashbacks only when you need to like explain exactly what's going to happen in the next scene, because the
yeah,
first book is, it is like if the first season of, you know, they're like, okay, if you just make it through the first 5 episodes of The Wire, and it's just like, listen, waste 12 hours of your life just
relearning. Listen, okay, so in the last adaptation, the guy
right,
who was Daniel Craig is now James McAvoy.
right.
So
Yes.
now
Yes.
this one's Ava Green. It's the
Almost
same though.
almost unrelated. Like, what you should do is make a completely different show and then just reference the other adaptation of the goal. Hey, just so you know, remember, if you watch the other one, then this is going to make perfect sense. Promise.
I do love adaptations of specifically like British properties that get rebooted, because you see like, who do we reset to, like, who's the next slate of British character actors
Right,
that we
right.
can just like redo again, and the diminishing returns on, like, we're
Totally.
running out of folks.
Totally. Although the Harry Potter movies had the exact opposite situation where they start with Kenneth Branagh and you're like, this is fucking terrible. And then Gary Oldman shows up and you're like, I can't believe this is a good movie. But Gary Oldman's here.
All right,
Yeah,
here we
okay.
go.
I did my job. 10 years. I love Gary Oldman in, I can't remember when it was, but he overacts to just a magnificent level.
Oh
It's
gosh,
amazing.
they're pick one, like Fifth Element.
Right.
Like, and no one directed him to do that. That is
No.
a choice that he made every day to be that.
That is a choice he made every day.
Every day.
It is a harrowing line.
Every
Every single day.
every morning, a director would come to him and say, "You don't need to. You don't need to be this way." And he was like, "No, I'm choosing this of my own free will."
And the first thing he says, it's still not too late. We can reshoot some of your scenes. Nobody will even know.
This is your responsibility.
Right.
But hey,
Hey,
Godspeed.
it went down in history as making a great fucking movie, so can't argue with that. Alrighty.
Well,
Whoop.
audiences at the time could argue.
No, yeah. At the time, agreed. But yeah, if everybody is ready, if everybody in the chat is doing good, then I think it is time to watch The Magicians. What I'm going to do is, give me 1 second. I'm going to start the timer and start the show. Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
What episode are we?
I want to say 6. Impractical applications.
Okay, I just
But if
clicked
you
in.
watch a completely different episode, that might be even funnier. I never
No.
considered that as a possibility.
All right. I'm skipping the recap.
You're skipping the recap? Oh shit!
No,
Well,
no,
now
I
I
need
have to
actually
skip. Oh,
I
now
think
you're
I
not
need
skipping
this.
the recap? This world's gone mad.
All right. My first quibble is that this is a 45-minute episode.
Oh no! But yes. Sorry. Apology.
Binding my body to the earth. Some kind of dungeon.
What's fun is I think on the last episode we watched so little of the episode together that I really kind of don't know what's going on.
It is garbage nonsense. We were in Fillory. We went to Fillory.
Were you a C.S. Lewis fan?
Yeah, as I was raised Catholic, so one must.
You had no choice.
But it's only. I do love that, like C.S. Lewis, he was all the devotion to the on the nose metaphor begins from the beginning, but then gets even more on the nose.
Can't be more on the nose.
Like that last book. Have you read the full?
Oh, The Last Battle? No, but I have read the Book of Revelations twice. Did that book have anything to do with it?
Got in one. I created an idol who will brought about the end of
so weird. It's like a false prophet. Like, I mean, it's just so crazy. Where did he come up with it?
It's just the beautiful imagination of the British. So something that intrigues me is
his
C.S. Lewis.
Oh, C.S. Lewis.
C.S. Lewis, J.R.R. Tolkien, Roald Dahl, that generation of British writer that is obsessed with the idea of bad British boyhoods.
Sure.
Of like they can't think beyond the reason they write children's stories is because their boyhood was stolen from them. But it is so they are so omnipresent in our idea of storytelling that now the idea of the bad British boyhood is just simply like the launch pad.
Yeah, absolutely.
So much of just our concept of what childlike stories mean.
Right.
But I just think like, oh, there are other types of children, even in the British Empire.
Yes.
We don't need to watch a little boy endlessly suffer and be sent away from his family because of war.
I mean, if you grew up during the war in a British boarding school, I really bet you don't know anything else.
That's true.
Like, the world is geared towards making sure you don't cause a problem, I guess.
Mm-hmm. It's just like, it's all pretty bad. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm checking back.
It is a little bit a farewell to arms with magic. That is not too far off from a lot of that.
Yeah. Oof. Checking back in. This woman named Julia got a train ticket from a cook.
So Julia in this early part of the series, probably for the first 2 seasons, is just almost like treated as an addict. You know, somebody who is on the corner all the time, just like, can I get a little bump of magic? Like that kind of thing. And then she becomes a person, but they really don't treat her well for the first while.
So we're a few minutes in. There's been no school. They are
at school.
Oh, these are all. Oh, it's like CW teens.
Yeah, 100%.
Ugh.
Except they're all 30, apparently.
These folks are old. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. It's supposed to be grad school. So they're supposed to be 19.
It's magic grad school. No!
Yes. Absolutely.
It's like, oh, I learned uh uh I learned basic alchemy, but that's because I want to become uh, a magic artisan,
Right.
but I have to go. I have to do my residency.
Like, what? What am I just listen? I know I have magic powers, but I really just want to be a glass blower. Can I? Do I? Is there a grad school for that?
No, no, sorry, they
No,
have to be magic balls.
it's got to be magic. Shit.
People giving each other tattoos is fun.
He spends, I want to say, his life without a shirt on.
Hey, hey, if you got it, nipples being it,
Being all.
show me, show 'em off.
Am I old or am I just like, Jesus, man, why are you taking your shirt off?
Because he got to do his tattoos. Because they're
It was
cool.
on his arm.
They're also. I don't have any tattoos. I'm pretty sure, like, holding yourself out for someone to write on it like they were writing on a chalkboard.
Sure.
I don't think that's the most stable of situations for your good tattoo.
I've had a lot of tattoos, and no, she
Like,
didn't, she didn't
you go into the
have-
shop
She
and
didn't
they
have
say,
any
like,
alcohol wipes. She wasn't dealing with a blood that's going to be streaming down a little bit. Like, she was doing none of that. That is very unhygienic.
is this a show where there's a lot of, like, this is fine because magic? Like,
Um,
this is
I
healthy
think it's
because magic?
No. I think what it is this like magic to them is treated as somewhat of a curse, which is again why I chose this show as a way or as an avenue to kind of talk about mental illness, is because for every one of these people, magic is their best power, and also the thing that kills them. Which to me is so much that feeling that you're in, or at least I've had so many times having a manic episode or something where it's like, I can absolutely demolish the world right now. I am demolishing the world right now. That is not good. It's that kind of twist. Yeah.
So from what I'm gathering from context clues, so like can you explain to me the magic system of this world? Like, it is part of you, but if you use it too much, you die or some shit?
It's more like, I mean, it doesn't literally kill you. I mean that using their power only because they're not responsible. They're dum-dums, so they can never use their power, and everything is always an ironic twist of, like, oh, this was supposed to happen, and now we're dead. We fucked up.
Now I have seen, for all your foot fetishes out there, first bare feet of the episode. We'd love to see it.
Yep, always. I keep track of bare feet all the time.
Male and female, but also walking around barefoot in an uncarpeted apartment, because now he has to go to whatever this event is without his shoes.
That is true.
But I appreciate, like, why would he wear his shoes at home?
Always be prepared to be kidnapped is the lesson of the magicians.
Gosh, why is his shirt off? Why is this happening?
No reason.
You're outside of doors. I know this guy.
You know him personally?
No.
Oh.
Okay. No, I actually don't know that actor. I thought it was Phil from Phil of the Future, and that is not him. So never mind.
No, I think all of these people have had a wonderful, successful time on this show for like 5 seasons, and now they're back in the acting class. So here we are.
Like,
now they can afford better acting classes is what I think.
Real. And James Lipton interviewing them, like, so when your character cast a spell on their sister to save the demon living inside them, what does that mean to you as a person? What's your favorite curse word?
What is
Magic curse word.
what is your favorite curse word? I love inside the magic studio.
When you meet Satan at the dark gates, what do you hope he says to you?
Is it- what's your relationship with your father like?
Mm. The father being the Lord Satan.
Yes, tap into those memories for me right now. Can you do a little magic?
I don't know. This is not a pretty Satan strong show. It's not very forward on Satanism. It's like, but
No.
no, it is, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting is this show never deals with even the slightest like hint of religion.
Mm.
So nobody worships anything, but that's also because you can meet gods.
Yeah.
You can't believe in God if
Leave the
you
door
like
open.
went to the bar with him. You're just chill with God.
Well, that's the supernatural problem, isn't it?
Exactly.
Where, hey, if you keep on fighting demons, who's the big demon? Once you finally show off the big demon, what do you do now?
Right?
Is there a worse devil? Because
I
there's
always
only
thought
one guy.
I always thought Ken Kesey put it best, which is once you get the pigs off your lawn, how do you stop from becoming a pig yourself to keep them off your lawn?
Mm.
Which was such a great way for somebody who did a lot of acid to describe his jail term.
That is certainly like, I don't think that's the most efficient way to explain it, but thank you.
But yeah, no, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Oh, so they're doing magician tests that are like the Kobayashi Maru. They are
100%.
impossible
Yep.
to see who will be the Kirk of the magicians.
Yep.
This is Star Trek.
Recycling ideas. Did you have English? Were you an English major in college of the like, or
I was a telecommunications major, which
telecommunications?
it was a major that was offered by the journalism school for people who didn't want to take journalism classes, basically.
Sure.
It's like, well, you don't need to learn AP style, but here's how to work a camera if you wanted to.
I'm fine with that.
But not the film
Telecommunications
degree.
is not just phone calls, is what you're telling me.
Yeah.
Although now I imagine a college that's purely about teaching cold calling.
Like, hey, thanks for picking up. In this day and age, first of all, don't do
you
that.
You gotta hook them in the first 3 seconds. That's what you gotta do. Otherwise, they're gonna hang up.
Now, you can't freak out if you actually get someone because it's never going to happen. But if it does, don't freak out.
Oh, yeah. Because the first thing you're going to say is, oh, my God, thank you. That's that's not going to work. You're not going to sell anything.
No.
You are going to make a friend.
Second, if they're picking up the phone, just ask for the social right off the top. Like, just hook them already. You only got 5 minutes, and they're probably ancient, so just grab it.
Yeah, it is. I hate those calls because I know for a fact that if you pick up, it's either because you have all the time in the world or because you're the mark they have been looking for.
Yeah.
I
just want to talk to someone. Like, all right.
Yeah.
I know lots of old people who have interests. This is your choice.
I had a job, I had a sales job where if people weren't coming in all the time, they'd be like, you need to call, like a used car salesman. They'd call all the numbers of people who showed up and didn't buy anything. And you just call for 2 hours and nobody answers. And then you just pretend to dial the phone.
Yeah,
I'm saying the boop, boop, boop. Yeah.
Did they give you like goals and contact goals that were impossible to meet?
I think the weirdest thing is they gave me goals that were too easy to meet, in that like really condescending way. Like, oh my God, you did one more. You did a great job. Like that kind of thing.
Ooh, so strong.
They were hoping I would stick around, and then I left.
Well, you're a political man. Have you ever done like call time for any sort of political organization or anything like
No,
that?
I can't. I absolutely can't.
You shouldn't. It makes you
There
feel bad.
there are so many things that I can't do because I know if I were given the opportunity, someone would be screamed at.
Yep, that's accurate. Uh, I was shows you how when I was moving. So the way that my political affiliations have changed over time is very indicative of this. I had the steamer trunk like that I got from uh, for college, got from Target, and in 2012, my first job out of college was working for the Obama campaign, the reelect.
Mhm.
And so I cover that steamer trunk full of these stickers, right? Like Obama for America,
Right.
Women for Obama.
That is
And then,
so similar to believing in magic, isn't it?
but
Like
isn't
now
it?
you look at it and you're like, oh, I think I was trying to do a spell. Is that
Well,
what I was doing? Make things
I
better.
was
I put all these stickers there.
there's a lot of work here, but I recently moved and the trunk was broken, absolutely broken. There's no way it was going to move. So I had to put it in the alley. And
Metaphor.
seeing this trunk covered in 2012 era progressive politics stickers and in the next to the garbage was very like this this is a pretty on the nose metaphor,
This is a
unfortunately.
little too on the nose.
If you wrote it, you would say, hey, try and
Hey,
make it a little
let's.
more
An editor would be like, I think maybe we need to pull it back on that one.
just like pull it back. But doing call time during 2012 was like, and amongst your voting base, you're just calling them to remind them to register and shit, was just the most emotionally miserable experience I've ever had.
Yeah.
Uh, to the point where like I would lie on, and when I was reporting my numbers and how many people I called, I would just
Oh
say
no.
I just didn't, and there's no way for them to keep track. So
What are you gonna fire me? You're Obama. Get
you're
out.
gonna fire me?
You
I'm working
need
on
me.
Miami Beach.
You
don't
need
need me
me
here.
more than I need you. Let's be real about this.
Yeah. Yeah, my turf was North Beach on Miami Beach
Yeah.
and part of South Beach, and it was all so much like, you voted? All
Right.
right,
Was
bye.
that was that like was there any kind of soul sucking conversation or was it just the tedium and the almost pointlessness of it?
Well, so much of what I got was like old folks, because it's Florida,
Sure.
uh, saying that they were going to vote anyway, but they wanted to talk to someone about why they were pissed off at how the first 4 years have gone.
Yes, you were a
Like,
customer service representative for Obama.
I do. I'll run it up the ladder if you want. I'll get you. We once had an event where I think Flotus was speaking at U of M,
Mhm.
and we were all staff there, and there was a really long line. Everyone was really hot and sweaty, and I had a voter come up to me and said, "Listen, voting day has not happened. I could change my vote if you don't fix this right now. Get us inside." I was like, I've got to. You have to leave. You have to get away from me.
If there's I despise overestimating the power of voting in the way that they're doing, like, oh, we need to vote in November, whatever. Fuck off. We've been here before. But I love the extreme power of voting, believe, where it's like, listen, I know you're gonna get 60 million votes, but if you don't get mine, you're fucked.
It's like, of all things, like, I'm too hot right now and I want a water bottle. So I'm going to vote for Mitt Romney. You know, that fucking guy. It's like, okay, if that's what that's what's in your heart and you want to hang on to this for another 2 weeks, absolutely go for it.
I think that is a great way of describing Maslow's hierarchy of needs in a political way.
It's like, what's going to fix this? Oh.
Listen, I would love to talk about your tax plan, but I'm thirsty right now. So
Get
to work.
Because otherwise I'm going to carry this anger in my heart.
Right into the voting booth.
I'm probably going to vote early for Mitt. And Paul Ryan, gosh.
I voted for drinkable water.
Drinkable. It's hot. It's Miami. Why aren't we inside?
Bottled water. None of this tap shit. You put fluoride in there.
It's truly, if anything, it showed me like, boy, uh, people are bad in
Yeah.
general. Like most
Yeah.
people in groups, the worst thing you've ever seen, the worst
Right.
thing you've ever experienced. Individually, fine.
It is kind of interesting how a lot of social groups, especially as they kind of grow, take on a personality that they
Mhm.
all share.
Mhm.
They stop having any kind of like, I like golfing, and that everybody is like, we fucking love golfing, and if
We
you
love
say
it.
a bad word, I'll kill you. You know,
Group identity. It's
right?
group. Everything is theater camp in many ways. Like fandom is theater camp. Political affiliations are often theater camp. You're looking for people who are like-minded, but also that you could potentially become a celebrity amongst.
Yes. Wow, that
So
is such a great way of putting it.
it,
I've been like frustrated because it feels like so many people are acting like they're in movies now.
mhm.
Like it, how can people shit. What was the example that literally just oh no, the blowing up the Georgia Guidestones. Like
Yeah,
what are you what are you doing?
it's main character.
This is on totally. Main character shit for sure.
Well, that's also the pipeline of rejected comedian slash improviser slash actor to
Right wing
conservative
superstar.
influencer. It's like I'm I want stage so bad. I want to be a celebrity so bad. I want attention so bad. Doesn't matter where it's from.
Nope.
But if enough people were good enough at theater camp, then I think a lot of our problems would be solved.
Or if theater camp were less competitive.
Yes, if you didn't have to be good. Well, we need to start accepting people, comedians who are not good, and pretending that they are.
Right. Right.
I feel like that's an easy.
We need to coddle the dangerous is what we need to we need to create padded like lives for the terrible.
Absolutely, just keep them booked on like a couple off the hook comedy clubs.
Totally. Yeah.
Just on
Always have two buffer people around them to make sure they don't sexually assault anybody.
just like, and you're doing great. You're so popular. You're so
Good.
popular.
You're like if Joe Rogan were good. That's what you are.
Hey. Boy. Oh, wait. Back at the magicians, the shoeless man is now in his bed because I think the test went bad.
It went well because everybody's friends. They got kind of initiated into the whole blah 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 blah. You're magic, and we're friends now.
Nice.
The masks and all that stuff were hazing.
Hazing for grad school.
Right? But people still do that. Like, what's a work bonding day but a weird form of hazing from corporate bosses?
Fair point.
Yeah.
Just like
Nailed it.
got it. Oh, I love her dress.
Isn't it great? She's by far the best character on this show. And if you came back like 3 seasons later, you'd be like, actually, this show is good purely because she's amazing.
Good.
Yeah.
I love the one person who's just like,
Nailed it.
I'm gonna do good here. I don't care.
Your performance, your understanding of the character, like you just amazing. And then Quentin is around here being like, okay.
His name is Quentin?
Yeah. They call him Q, ironically.
Is he like a...
Because he drops spells all the time. That's a Q drop joke. Nobody.
Cute. So...
Is he Q? Is he?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Interesting question. I've received 50-50 answers.
Whether Ron is Q?
Q. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he has to because he has to. His poll numbers aren't doing good enough, so he has to drum it up a little bit,
Yeah.
get
Oh,
that
he's
attention back.
this is him. Oh man, if you want to talk about on the nose, fillery. All right. You've read C.S. Lewis, right?
Yes.
Completely different. 100% completely different than going in through the wardrobe to Narnia. 100% different. Don't compare the two.
Ugh.
It is, and because it's one of those situations where somebody thinks just copying a thing in a different environment is commenting on it.
Hmm.
You know,
See,
like,
we know what you're thinking. We know.
right.
We know what you're thinking. This fancy man, he is not handsome enough to be this character. I don't think.
Oh, no, they're not in Fillory. Never mind. I got it wrong. But, anyways, Fillory exists. And yes, no, you are absolutely correct.
Like, because he's supposed to be like the know-it-all, dashing, kind of fancy. Uh,
Oh, you mean, oh, no. He's
not
awesome.
Quentin.
Not Quentin?
Really?
He's awesome. Yeah. Bisexual queen of the world. Incredible. He's amazing.
Well, I want them to dress him better because he's all boxy.
It evolves.
Oh, okay.
His dress continually grows. His wardrobe is incredible.
Excellent.
I'm not usually. I've worn the same shirt for 6 months, and his wardrobe is incredible.
You and I both, mister. I've been living out of a. Ooh. See, this is fun. Like this is the kind of magician stuff that I want. Like, ooh, tea time in the forest. Go get me a horse. We're the
Yep.
magicians.
Yeah, we were talking about how unadaptable the Golden Compass was because the first season is it's just garbage. It's
Yeah, it's
always
boring.
going to be garbage.
Hmm.
And this first season is absolute garbage, but has just enough of those bright moments where you're like, I'll watch the next one. It's Netflix. I'm not doing anything today. And then two
Yeah.
seasons later, you're like, oh, no, they learned how to make a show. What happened here?
So many of these sorts of show are all about like, but what about the magic bureaucracy? And what about the
Right.
people who are fighting? It's like, no, I want weird, cool shit. I want to see them do the magic. And I want like what is it? What do you use for mail? Is it weird?
Right.
Show it to me.
Right. No, while I'm trying to write this book, the thing that I keep coming up against is like the way so many magic or fantasy authors treat magic is you have something incredibly boring in order to accent the imagination of magic.
Yeah.
But the more boring you make the bureaucracy, the less interesting your magic is.
Mm-hmm.
And so most magic is kind of limited by a shitty imagination.
Yeah. It's the
like, oh yeah, I'll just give you one example for this show. Like in this show, battle magic as they describe it is basically just people pushing a ball of force at you.
oh.
And like if you have any imagination and you can do magic, summon a giant rock and have it fall on their head. What are we doing here?
The projectile nature of magic. It's just like you can only like throw it at a person.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. Like I don't. You could do other things.
The most American thing is to treat magic like a gun. See, I can shoot it. It's completely different from a gun because it's magic.
Because from here and it goes out there, but
Right.
it's magic.
It is ironic. If a magician in this show tried to fight somebody with a gun with battle magic, they would lose instantly.
It's like, well, or you could turn back time in just their radius where they turn into a baby.
Totally.
Cool things.
If you're going to accept magic, then what matters is what limitations you put on it to create a narrative structure. But it's just always so limited that it's dumb.
Mm-hmm. The old improv, like, if this is true, what else is true? School of thought.
100%. That's such a great way of describing it.
Yeah. Like, if I can do magic, then what does that do to just my everyday life? Like, would I still, I don't think I would move through the world in the same way
Absolutely not. Yeah, of course.
if that were an option available to me.
What's your first take on like, okay, we're in a scene, you're a wizard. What's your first move? You get the you get the recommendation from the crowd. They're like, "You're a wizard." And you're doing one of the games where you have to start first. Just be like,
The first thought is like, I killed many people accidentally because my
I know
power
it's crazy. They're all surrounding us. What's going on with you right now?
it is because if you're a wizard and you have powers, I feel like you just accidentally kill people all the time.
All the time. All the time.
Just because the way you move through the world.
That's the first thing that I've established for like the beginning of a magic character is not like Harry Potter where fucking Hagrid shows up and he's like, "Oh, you're a wizard." It starts with you murdering everybody around you because you can't control it.
Some huge destructive force that is just like, even if you did something small, it is so different from what everyone else can do and handle around you that it just either ruined your life or killed everyone you know.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no way that your first use of magic is like, "Oh, I got everybody cake." But it wasn't also, "I got everybody a cake so big everybody can't breathe anymore and they're trapped inside cake until they die."
Oh, you found a shirt that's great.
I can't wear eyeshadow. Can't pull it off.
They are fun. I like these two. I do love the implication that as you get further in your magics, you become just more like
prickish.
Like, I'm a piece of shit.
Yeah. But that I think makes perfect sense. Like, the more inexplicable power you have, the more you're going to be like, fuck it, I'm just going to treat people like shit.
Yeah. I'm a piece of shit. Woo! You can summon anything you ever want to you.
That's the big problem I have with so much magic is they never really deal with mood. Where you're like, it's like someday you go in the post office and you're like, you go ahead of me. You magic that. You up that magic. And then sometimes you're in the car and you scream at somebody for cutting you off. You're going to up that up with magic. Yeah. And those people are going to die.
Yeah. Have you seen Everything Everywhere All at Once?
Absolutely fantastic.
I love that interpretation of like, if you are all powerful, all controlling, and know everything, the only natural conclusion is extreme ennui.
Yes.
And I thought that's so fucking smart.
It's great.
Every other like godlike superhero story doesn't exactly get, like, I guess you could say like Watchmen does that sort of thing, but it's like it is challenging to be a person in this way.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what was fun about Everything Everywhere at Once is once I saw the Raccoonatui section, I was like, people are going to say this is just absurd humor, but I'm going to write a whole fucking paper about how this is a commentary on not just the culture at large, but the things we create and how and it's like, and it's all unlocked by this raccoon.
You did it.
Yeah, exactly.
I have not had a laugh out loud moment like that in a movie in a long time. Like the payoff of that, of actually seeing, like, yeah. Oh my God.
Every part of me was like, this is a fun thing they threw away. And then when they brought that back, it was the best comeback I've seen in 10 years.
Oh my God.
Easy.
Just so delightful. I just heard it today. They did a Randy Newman parody of the
Randy Newman.
about,
oh my God. I swear to you. I don't know why, but I immediately thought not Randy Newman, but you said Randy Newman. I was like, Burt Bacharach. That's what I'm thinking.
That's him.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
They did it. Ooh, magicians is horny. We're painting each other with horny juice. All right. Well, that there was no payoff on that horny scene. Disappointing.
Yeah, that's basically how it works.
So, is Magicians only on Netflix?
I think right now it is. It's a sci-fi show. So it originally aired sci-fi style.
Gotcha.
Oh, she's dying.
Oh, there she goes.
Yep.
Oh, it's going bad. Oh,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Yeah.
Holy shit, oh my God.
Yep.
Where's the blood coming
Everywhere.
from? Here's the thing. Well, this is the question. Like, why can't I see nudity, but I have to see that? Like, there's supposed to be a very horny scene. I don't only see people.
You can see the one dude's tits.
It's not fair. I want full frontal.
And you got some feet.
I did get feet.
You want full on bush? Is that what you're going for?
I want feet.
I want merkin.
I want full magician's bush front to back.
The bush has to be front to back too.
I don't want back.
No trimming. I don't want anybody who even considered it. I want that 80s shit.
Listen, talking about if this is true, what else is true? If I'm a wizard, I'm not shaving. Who's going to tell me I'm wrong? No one, because I'm too powerful.
Is that why? It's not for yourself. It's just because nobody can tell you shit anymore.
No one can tell me anything. That's what I imagine, like, world leaders, like, Angela Merkel's like, no, I'm not going to shave.
Right.
I'm too powerful. No, tell me different.
You think Hillary's bush is underwear?
Hey.
It's completely, it just covers everything perfectly.
Oh, gosh. Oh, yeah, so we're getting...
Told you.
There we go.
Horny. Yeah, if you're going to have a weird sex scene, you might as well score it to Fantagram.
This is not an inexpensive needle drop. They're doing it.
And there's hand tying and shit.
Ooh, part of the magic. Okay. I don't know. I am not part of the kink community. I don't think that is safe.
Not part of the kink
rope. Safe rope usage. Like, you're not supposed to. There needs to be a third party to ensure that.
You're probably right.
I'm just saying.
I mean, what's interesting about some songs is, like, I used to really, really like that song, and I just can't. Now that they've used it for this kind of stuff, it's like, whatever.
They magicianed it. They Alakazammed it.
Yeah, they magicianed it.
It got magicianed.
It's difficult to like a lot of songs. I think the only band that is purely immune from, like, movie fuck up is the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. Every time I've heard a song of theirs in a movie, I've immediately not cared.
It's like, hey,
that's fine.
Get your bag.
Go for
Congrats.
it. Yeah, Karen, you need that money.
Works in the montage. Fantastic. See you in the next one.
I'll listen to Maps again. I don't have a reason to outside of this show, so fuck it.
I lost my Guitar Hero. Way.
Oh man, I love it when they have, like, whenever you're supposed to be naked and they show you in silhouette with just enough shadow that you don't need to worry about it, but they wear those nipple, like, suckers that stick right on there. Like, what kind of idiot lunatics are we where it's like, listen, the only thing I can't show is a 1/4 inch of areola.
That areola
can't happen.
The rest of the breast, fantastic.
Totally.
I love it.
Great.
But
a 1/4 inch circumference.
When it shades and turns into something that a child may sup upon.
Yep.
Mm-mm.
Totally.
No.
Yeah, we saw blood excrete from that lady's eyes, but a quarter-inch of areola that could
Just
scar a child.
You said it was safe to open the file cabinet?
Nope.
Guess not.
Never.
Am I supposed to root for Quentin?
I suppose.
Is he the special protagonist?
I think these, he starts off as again, this is one reason why you're like, these first seasons are filled with these small, bright moments that make you want to keep watching so long as you don't have to focus too hard on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, they finally get to being like, our whole point is that Quentin is kind of an uninteresting white man. Everybody else is cool.
Yes.
I don't know why uninteresting white men are the protagonist of every show.
He's the audience stand-in.
Yeah, a little bit like that. For white men.
Audience? You mean audience? That's what everyone says to me about audience.
Yeah,
audience stand-in.
Well, I mean, in sci-fi's defense, around 2005, 2006, I bet their audience was all white men.
But that's the funny thing. Like, I wouldn't think the Magicians, like, we're talking about demographics, like, the Magicians is for young women ages 18 to 35.
Totally.
I think that's the demo.
Yeah, absolutely.
So having a male protagonist doesn't seem like that's the thing.
No, this is a terrible idea. But it's based off of, so what happens, it was based off of some dude's book. And he was very kind of lazily mocking Harry Potter, just transposing these characters into a grad school and being like, wouldn't it be funny if they fucked?
Yeah.
And then the showrunner, Sarah Gamble, slowly took over. And so she transformed his very like white dude centric, this is how we do things, into an incredibly like LGBTQ plus inclusive show, like sharing all of these stories and fronting these kinds of things. And it's
the episode.
Yep, that's the end of the episode.
He turned into a bird. Turned into
a goose. Yep. Yeah. You know what's funny? The next episode I really think is good. This one's a little boring.
From what I could tell, it seemed like this episode was a lot of like, we got a couple bridges to build through
100.
This arc. So this is,
yep,
we got to complicate some people's lives a little bit, but also like this is mostly about bird.
Totally. Bird. It is a scene, or it's an entire episode where if you were in like a Star Wars movie, that whole section would have just been a cut to, They were here and then they're going to a second location. So they turn into a goose and then they're there,
Hey,
the
process of goose, the process of getting to goose is
right.
We don't need to see that.
So let me ask you, like, are you going to watch more Magicians?
I might. You know what? I am very pro binging things that especially that are very different from the thing that you personally do or work on. So detaching yourselves from stakes of needing to have an opinion on something is a perfect watch. That's why I watch a lot of like cooking stuff.
Oh,
but
love it.
It seems like the perfect show to just be like, I'm having passive enjoyment.
100%. And I mean, you can bring it up to anybody and know it'll be like, oh, I hated that show and now we have to argue about it. They'll be like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's the Magicians.
Yeah. Sounds good. I'm glad you enjoy it. That's the way most people respond to the Magicians. I'm glad you enjoy it.
I'm glad it exists. I'm glad it exists for the people who like it.
It's good for you. It's good for me. Everybody's happy.
Just put it on.
So now we get into the section portion, because I've always, again, like we've talked about earlier, I've always viewed magic as a stand-in for the way that imagination can fuck with your head, and
Mhm.
that usually just means mental illness. So the one-to-one analogy is pretty close. So if you want, have you had a diagnosis of any kind? Are you one of the psychiatric people, or are you just you're just good?
Um, I have been a user of Lexapro and
Ooh,
Wellbutrin at
very
various
nice.
moments
I'm a
in.
well beauty.
Well, you gotta get the Wellbies to balance you out from the Lexies. You
I
gotta
call
even
us the
yourself out.
well cuties. That's what we well cutrin.
So it's been off and on, and currently I'm not medicated, but I do. Amongst the socially anxious,
Hmm.
and yeah, I am especially post pandemic. Like there's something fundamentally changed in my brain.
Sure. I
Yeah,
think so for all of us, and I think people who have made it through this without are absolute psychopaths.
no, it's like
No doubt.
none of it. None of it went good.
Sure. Sure.
None of it was good. It was all bad.
Yeah. So, what was the first time that you went to a doctor? If you don't, again, you do not have to say anything
No,
you
no,
don't
no. I
want
love
to.
talking about it.
Okay.
It was the thing that gave what for going to talk therapy first
Hmm.
before getting on medication, which I had a therapist for many years who she was not very good, but she was mine.
That
Um,
is, yeah.
it was one of those things where I was suffering from disproportionate responses to things, as in like things like breakups, things like rejection uh, in being involved in comedy. Of course, would it's a
Oh, it's
right
all
foot.
rejection.
It's
It's
all that's the whole
all
thing.
rejection.
But
Yeah.
I would have like disproportionate attachment and disproportionate response that were like these things would tank my month, and I would just like panic attacks and things like that. It was just I need something that will help me just deal with input
Just
in
level out,
general.
just like
Just
I'm too all over the place.
mhm.
That kind of feeling. Like, did you
And
also experience it in the other direction, where if something, if you got a gig, then you would have a month that's just nonstop great?
no, it's never good.
No, fuck that. No, it's all bad.
No,
All
if
bad.
you
Nothing
if you
good.
get something, that means karma's coming for you.
Right, right.
That means
No, I understand that completely.
it's only bad, only ever bad.
No, that is so like the comedian's rule is if you've had two or three good sets in a row, the bomb's around the corner.
It's like
It's just around
it's
the corner.
listen it. Well, and also just so much of comedy is social, and the relationships that you build and the the people that you meet, and having that be kind of a necessity
Yeah.
of being involved
That's
in
why
things
I
that I'm
failed.
involved in. Yeah, it was just so so much for someone like I'm a homebody. I don't like
Yeah.
going out, but it's it felt just compounded.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, then I started talk therapy, and I wasn't on SSRIs very long, but like I said, on and off.
Hmm.
But for me, it was so necessary to know what it was like to have that and
Oh,
to
that's interesting. I have not heard that before. So you wanted a taste of normal? Is that
it
you?
was just like
I just want a little taste. I just want my first taste is free. I'll have a little bit of normal, and then I'll go back to crazy.
yeah, it was well, and also I who whomsoever my psychologist was, they were very like in and out. Like, what do you need? Okay, here's prescription, get it out, that kind of
Sure.
thing. She was not very involved.
There's a difference between a psychiatrist and a talk therapist, and it is giving a shit about on the day to day.
It's just like, yeah, it's fine. All right.
Good. See you in 3 months.
10 milligrams. There you go.
Yep.
But yeah, I think the reason I stopped is not because I felt like everything was that much better. I could feel like I had a better idea of both coping strategies and what I how to feel the feelings I was feeling,
Right.
and knowing where to put them.
So what you're saying here is that the medication was a way to like level out your emotional turmoil in order to allow yourself to like intellectually control that emotional turmoil when you're not on the medication.
Exactly. Because there's that feeling sometimes when you're on Lexapro where you are running up like you know your brain is trying to feel an emotion and you can feel it not feeling.
I've never done the Lexapro, so I'm interested to hear about that.
Yeah. Well, and
the Lexapro. I've never gone out and like nobody's ever gotten me a pill and I've stored it. You know, I've never done the yeah.
It's the reason they prescribe Wellbutrin with it is just to help you feel more instead of just feeling flat affect. Right. Just like evens you out a little bit instead of just being, oh, I'm too anxious. Oh, I'm not feeling anything at all. That kind of thing. But yeah, even going off, there's still the ever-present struggle. Like I've considered going back to my psych over the past couple of years, because even post-pandemic, like especially post-pandemic.
Post is a great word that doesn't apply.
No, it's not true. But
that's why I'm doing a Twitch show and not an in-person show.
No, live the magicians.
Yeah, exactly.
But the anxiety that I get now that the world is more possible, that's so much. Like I didn't feel as anxious in 2020. Now I feel anxious, like, okay, everywhere I go.
Totally.
It's all just so heightened, even if it's not like fear of the actual disease. It's like, like having an emergency, giving you the excuse to just be at home.
Yeah.
Makes things like a little bit easier. But now, I don't know.
Well, I think some of that is sometimes us reacting to the extreme unfamiliarity of it now. And especially since we're of the performer ilk, so our social environment was always like us in performer groups, and then the crowd in the crowd groups.
Yeah,
you know, we've never mixed the two. And other normal people get to hang out with the crowd. I don't want to hang out with them. They're terrifying.
No.
I want to make them laugh, and I want to leave.
I don't any part of that.
No.
Ew.
Yeah.
You came to see me? Ugh.
Absolutely. So we're all so unfamiliar with like returning to that world that what we can sometimes misinterpret as a mentally overwhelming illness might literally just be, we've been trapped inside for 2 years. We are mole people now. There's no coming back.
I don't need to. I've got 5 friends. Fantastic. That's all I need.
I was earlier today, I was like, boy, I was thinking about guests for the show, and I was going through all of my comedy friends who I wanted to have on the show, and I was like, I don't even know if they know who I am anymore. I have 5 friends.
The amount of acquaintances you shed are just like, I had to delete Instagram because not for any like real FOMO reasons, but there's like a little bit of that, like people going out, people getting jobs. But I just hated knowing about people. Ooh. Just like having someone be part of my brain space because they update their social media a lot. She's like, I don't stop it.
Yeah.
No. I don't
I
want any of that.
we get like on our show page, we get some emails every day, and sometimes it's a lot. But if it's one, even then, we're still like, I'm so overwhelmed by the amount of effort it would take to understand. I want to write back. We read everyone, and we're like starting to reply, and we're like, I'm terrified they're gonna take this the wrong way.
Just like,
We've
I don't know.
no, and it's crazy. It's all people who just yeah, just connecting with us. We're both like, I'm a shut in. I don't know how to talk to you.
This is not a show for. This is me and my friend talking to each other. What are you doing here?
Right. It is weird to have like a lot of people, and still in your head, like when we started there were 10 people listening maybe,
Hmm.
and that's why we did the show.
Yeah,
Nobody was there.
it's me talking to my friend.
Yeah. And now we're still there. Other people get better at it. They're like, oh, we're a professional outlet and we do the whole
Hmm.
thing. Not us.
And
Worse.
other people are now. People have opinions on your relationship to each other.
That is true. That
Horrifying.
is true. People
Terrifying.
mainly have opinions on me, and they're not good. But beyond that,
Well, at least it's not commentary or parasocial. Like it seems like they're not getting along as much as they used to.
oh no, it's great. I
You
mean,
got
it's really fun just because Dan and I unfortunately still love each other dearly. Like it doesn't. This is great. We love doing a podcast together. I don't know what
I'm
else
sorry
to
to
tell you.
say that
Yeah,
we adore
there's
each other
no
and like to
feud.
hang out with each other very much.
I think he's a genius. He tolerates me. I think we're having a great time.
And it sucks, and it hurts me to report that, but we are very close.
Oh, boy. That's so good.
Hmm.
Let me ask you about. I know we got way off topic. I want to ask you about that idea of going off your medication, even though
Hmm.
you know it's. Is it going to be more of a struggle? Do you feel like that?
Overall, like I didn't. Medication and talk therapy is all about knowing where you feel comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
and I I preferred being a little anxious, being a little like keyed up to that felt more like my personality
Interesting.
than that version of my brain that was on the medication. And that is so nuanced. And anyone, I would say, like, I'm not telling everyone, like, oh, you need to go off it to feel like your real self.
No,
It's
no,
like,
no,
no,
absolutely
no, no,
not.
no, 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 no. That's not what I'm saying.
If you did, I would stop you.
No, no, no. It's like figuring out like which version of yourself you feel is the equal parts comfortable and safe to you.
Nice.
So for me, I needed to do talk therapy for a very long time still,
Mhm.
and that was a huge part of it where I felt comfortable like being off the meds. And it's like it's a cocktail where like I feel comfortable. I could go back on Lexpro if I needed to,
Sure.
and I may need to if I go through a particularly stressful time. But
Sure.
yeah, I needed to be balanced out and then figure out like, okay, what does this mean?
Right.
As
Did
far
you
as
get did you
dosage.
get like outside feedback that people said you were behaving different on the medication, or is this all internalized from you? Or a
All
combination?
yeah,
Yeah.
all pretty internalized. It was like, and I was pretty low dose anyway, so like the
Mhm.
differences were pretty minute. And
Mhm.
I'm sure anxiety, as far as something that is medicated, is very different from depression because like I was on both for both anxiety and depression, because depression is more
Sorry.
I I feel of a nuanced feeling and has like it's so much more like dopamine receptors, like we know where that is and what's happening there, whereas anxiety is just I think more complicated to treat in
Hmm.
some ways.
Well, because what is anxiety? Are
Yeah.
you telling me that this anxiety is this part of my brain misfiring, or is it also this part of my brain misfiring and you don't know which?
Or is it just my adrenaline just
Or is
does
the
this
world just shit? Has
as my
anybody
body?
considered the world is just garbage?
Or am I having a reasonable reaction to my environment?
Totally. Yeah.
That's the thing.
No, if you see like a little puppy surrounded by wolves that want to eat it and it's shaking, you're not like, oh, that puppy has anxiety.
It's
We need
anxiety.
to
Anxious for
we
no
need to
reason.
medicate that dog.
It's like, yeah. Uh, yeah, I forget where the
Oh,
point
we were
was.
talking about the going on and off of medication and how you, if I understand correctly, you feel like your medication is almost well, like that's kind of how I've treated a stint in the mental hospital. You know,
Hmm.
like I'm fully medicated all the time, and when I say fully, I mean to the gills.
Hmm.
But even then, it's like I'll go do a week,
Hmm.
that kind of thing, because I need to. So if that's your like, I don't want to say lower stakes version of that, although you know a mental hospital is high stakes. but
Well,
I do understand your kind of thought process on this one.
yeah.
Yeah.
The goal was never to eliminate anxiety.
Hmm.
The goal was to learn how to manage it in a way that felt like that you can move through the world and reasonably accept outside stimuli and
Right.
react to it in an appropriate, proportionate way.
That's great.
And
Yeah.
medication helped me do that in addition to talk therapy. And who knows, like I'm I've had a couple different panic attacks this year, just the idea of being around huge groups of people.
Sure.
Or earlier this week, my dear partner. So I got uh, mosquitoes are out. I got a couple bug bites, and then I got convinced I had brought bed bugs into the house.
Ooh.
Convinced, and I just had a full day long meltdown about it.
Oh boy.
And then he was like, "I think you just got a mosquito bite." But I could not be convinced, so I just ruined my own day. So like those are the things like that's not a proportionate response to any of that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to go back to therapy. Who knows?
We had back I want to say like 6 or 7 years ago, I went to this comedy competition with three other comedians who shall remain unnamed. And when we got back, one of them texted all of us and they were like, I think you gave us bed bugs. And I got the text and I immediately, like, no questions asked, Googled bed bugs, burned all of my clothes immediately into the
Mm-hmm.
laundry place nowhere near my home. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
do all of this shit over there. Everything's in bags. 2 days
Go to the
later, they're like,
laundromat.
what? No, this is a spider bite.
And I've done that exact same thing. Like I come back from a trip and like a flea came back on my bag, and then it's like,
Burn
well,
it down.
the pest man's gonna come 3 times in a month, and he's gonna
Yep.
spray down my mattress, and I'm gonna wrap my mattress, and it's gonna be great.
somebody somebody was after I told them this whole story, they were like, you should have let your landlord know. They would have called somebody and the entire building should know. I
That's
just
the
called
thing.
an exterminator from my room. No big deal.
I'm like, say what you like. Don't be a landlord. But if you're gonna
Yeah.
be a landlord, my property manager was on it. They had the
Really?
guy in there that day. Like, hey, fantastic, you've got the good juice to make him go away. So
That's
thank you.
amazing. Every property manager I've ever had, I have at least once lost my mind on. And the last one I had, this was my greatest swan song of renting because my partner, no, my wife,
My wife.
she owns. I do not own. Period. So at my last apartment, I was trying to find a subletter because I was moving out 3 months before my lease ended, and this dude. Who I specifically need to say is a black dude for the further part of the story. So I find him. He's great. We talk. We have this whole thing, and I'm like, "Fuck yeah, you're my subletter." He applies, and the property manager's like, "No, there's a credit. Fuck off," that kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
And so I was just like, "Fuck it, man. You live here now. You pay me, I'll pay them. No big deal. You and me both. We're good.
I don't need to know.
Don't care." 2 months later, somehow, I don't know why, and it's illegal. The property manager just walked in while that dude was there,
That's illegal for sure.
and he didn't even bother lying, which bums me.
Yeah.
He was like, "Yeah, I live here now." And I was like, "Man, you could have just said you were house sitting." Jesus.
I'm visiting, and I'm
Yeah.
here for a dog
Absolutely.
to feed it.
But what's great about that is that they care more about just having somebody in there than not. So once he was already squatting, they were like, "Well, we don't have any chance of kicking him out." Guess
Like,
what?
well-
You've got the apartment.
Hey, that's one way to get around application fees.
I'm sick of their shit.
Just walk on in, sit on down. There you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're a tenant now.
So
Congrats.
let me ask you, do you feel like some of that anxiety and some of those anxious feelings kind of drive you in a way? Do you feel like they're useful?
Can be. Depends on, like, I think if you're a certain type of type A person, deadline driven, to do driven, like that is just building in false anxiety for yourself throughout the day to fulfill and pursuing the relief of anxiety by
Sure.
forcing yourself into your nightmare every day.
Right. Like how Michael Jordan found anybody to hate just so he could dunk. That
Exactly.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Like making it personal, making the nightmare in your head to be able to give yourself a gift every day of relieving that nightmare, kind of.
That
It
sounds
is
like
useful
you've
in
been in
some
talk
ways.
therapy for a while.
Hey, but yeah, you have to be careful. You have to be so careful about that, because then when everything is a goal and when everything is a task and everything is like an anxiety to be relieved, then you are like, you can't turn that off. You can't turn
Sure.
that down.
Sure.
And that impacts all the other parts of your life.
No, my partner has experienced that all too often, where it's like she's so good in a crisis that all too often the idea is like, well, I'm not good in not a crisis, so I better make this a crisis so I can succeed.
Yeah.
That kind of feeling. Yeah.
And we've probably both met people who, like, you feel like, why are their lives so dramatic? And sometimes it is because their life is dramatic, or there's some folks who their brains are addicted to anxiety and to stress. So they put themselves into situations by like overly involving themselves in their friends' lives and that kind of thing. Like, because I need that feedback, because otherwise it'll just eat me alive.
Otherwise, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I am. I can't sit with myself in quiet. I think all too often, one of the biggest things that you can see almost immediately is like, oh, you can't sit with yourself. You just can't do it.
Watching something by myself? No, I hate that. Nope, my skin feels like it's crawling.
I'll have a call. I'll just call somebody. I'll be texting the whole time. I cannot sit alone with my thoughts for a second. Because I'm scared of what's in there.
This is where the demons live.
Yeah,
right
absolutely.
Here. We know where the demons live. They're right here.
Of course. Where else would they go?
Where do they go?
Yeah, I've felt that because I'm in this space where I do live an absurdly dramatic life. Like
Mhm.
I'm bipolar type 1. I don't have a choice. Like when I was born, my parents were in a cult and my name was prophesied. Like you don't get to choose after that moment. You are going to live a dramatic life. That's what
Oh,
happens.
my word.
Yeah. But no matter what you do, you live in the space where you're like, am I blowing this out of proportion? I mean, sure, I was prophesied like zero other people,
Oh,
but
my
I don't know if it
word.
should affect my life this much.
The the sheer amount of brain pressure of like, even if you've let go of that idea that you were prophesied to be a
Sure,
certain way, it's just
sure.
like, well, yes, but if I have this for dinner, is that what is meant to be? Is this how am I fulfilling my obligation
Yeah.
to the fates that have deemed me to be such in this way?
I'm going to tell you the worst story of my life. I'm going to tell you the worst story of my life. Um, when I graduated from high school, we had a graduation party, like everybody does, and everybody gives you like $1 so
Mhm.
you can buy lunch at college, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. And this one neighbor we had who was not a stable person, as you would say it, she suddenly walked in and she wrote a check for $500
Oh my god.
and she said, I think you're going to do special things, and then walked out. And it's like,
Oh,
what am I supposed to fucking do with that?
I think you're gonna do special things. I think the
No,
specialist boy.
no,
So if you're
that's
not
not
president,
okay.
if
Don't ever
you
say that to anybody.
if you don't cure cancer, then boy, what a disappointment you're gonna be to me.
I'm 17 and a random 55-year-old medium walks in. The ghosts have given you 500.
I just want to give you a head start in curing the world that you
It
must
is
do.
it is really crazy, and after that it's hard to just do a thing.
Hmm.
You can't just be like, okay, I lay bricks. Nah, man, I
No, no,
lay
no, no,
the
no, no,
fuck out of bricks.
no, 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 no.
I'm gonna do
Special
special
things.
things. Exactly.
Ugh, special things within the context of Western civilization and what we deem to be important labor. So,
Right. No, and the worst part is, and I know that it's just, I'm not complaining. Believe me, I'm not complaining. We have a successful podcast, which is the craziest possible. There's five successful podcasts, and we get middle class. We're so stoked about it. We're like
mm.
subsistence podcast farming. That's what we do. But
Oh no,
that's a special thing.
it
I
is.
can't not say that. This
Unfortunately, it
lady
is
was
very
right.
special.
I'm losing my mind.
I'm so sorry to report that it is a very special thing that you do for a living.
I know.
It is very individual. Not a lot of people do it.
So
It is
stupid.
very impactful on the current political environment. Unfortunately, it's very special.
It's
I'm so
awful.
sorry.
It's awful. I don't know whatever happened to that lady either. And it is one of those fucking movie moments
Hmm.
where you're like like if you saw Eric Clapton walking by a guitar shop as a 5-year-old, you'd be like, oh, that's because he's gonna do that. And this random old medium shows up. You're gonna do special things. Touches my forehead, and then there we go.
Well, here's an interesting parallel that I think you'll enjoy. Uh, I recently watched the film Howard the Duck,
Okay.
and in the film, Howard gets
Wait, the first one, the
there's a second
original Howard the Duck.
the original Howard the Duck from
Okay.
George Lucas and his brilliant mind of industrial like magic.
Amazing.
Bold vision for film. Howard at the beginning, after he gets transported to Earth, says, I always imagined that something more important was going to happen to me, that I was meant for something. And then he discovers he was meant to save the Earth at the expense of returning to Duck World.
Sure.
So,
Oh,
but
such an ironic tragedy.
would he have done it? Would he have done that if he hadn't convinced himself that you were meant to do something special.
Sure. Do we run towards the event we are trying to run away from?
Hmm.
The old question.
And the answer is,
Probably.
yeah, probably. What?
I, I do like when the answer to Buddhist questions, because this is the case for almost all Buddhist questions, which is why they're so funny. It's the answer is like, yeah, sometimes. That's it. Every question. It is so funny how much people fight koans like, how do you understand this wisdom? And it's like, no, the wisdom is chill, man. It doesn't fucking matter.
It's
What are
like,
you doing?
if you think so, yeah, probably. What do you
What's the
think?
sound of one clan? What's the sound of one hand clapping? I'm hungry. That's the sound of one hand clapping.
Just like, what do you think?
Yeah, nah, that works. That works.
Sure. Okay.
Breathe more.
Do better.
There is a reason there aren't as many holy books for the Buddhists, because a lot of it is just like, try some.
It's
I'm not
like
asking a lot.
emphasizing, as said in my previous text, get good.
Get good. GG. GG is what is important.
Get good. And hey, good hustle.
The original God Gamer was Gautama. It used to be called GGG. I don't appreciate that I laugh at my own jokes, but
hey,
what are you gonna do?
You started, and then the world laughs with you.
That's the trick.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. We figured out 70s sitcoms.
We did it. Just push it over the hill, like.
Okay, so we've got a few minutes left, so I do want to ask a question about like the way that you have processed. I don't know. Would you call it a mental illness or a reaction to your environments? Do you know? Have you felt like this has been an intrinsic character? This anxiety and sometimes depression has been with me from the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Okay. Because some people are like, I'm depressed because I lost my job, and they say depressed. But, for people who were born with it, we're like, it's a little different.
Yeah. I think so like when I was a kid, I had to go to like a child therapist because I was so scared of death that I would just like cry all the time. And I was like 9 or 10. Like I was old enough to be like, hey, you shouldn't be so scared of dying.
Right.
That's like, you're right, but also you got to get through the rest of your life. But then I remember talking about
nobody was like, life is short to you. Everybody's like, dude, this goes on forever.
It keeps on going, and
you've
got to deal with it each day. So
when it does end, you're gonna be happy.
Just like tone it down a little bit. But I remember like talking to teenage friends about like, oh yeah, and then we all went through a really anxious phase in our preteens where we were like scared of everything and afraid of dying and everyone else in our lives dying, and people would be like, no, I never felt that way. Like, oh,
is that sometimes, and I'm gonna throw this out because this is something that men and male therapists and psychiatrists like to really ignore. But being a woman at that age is terrifying all the time.
Yeah.
So, like, how much of that do you feel is like a legitimate reaction that so many of the older generation of women are like, yeah, you get hit. What's wrong with you? that kind of feeling.
Maybe, I don't know.
There's just like, I'm entitled to be a person.
Just I think there, like, so much of it was born of like we moved and I didn't have a lot of friends, and we moved to Southwest Florida, which is like a weird place to grow up because it's a town made for people over 60.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I don't think I ever felt like that femininity was the issue.
Sure.
But
Well, I'm not
oh
saying
no,
femininity. Yeah. It is not femininity. It is masculinity that is the issue towards abusing women.
Well, yes.
It is not. It's not. Oh, you say nice too much. No. Not how it works.
I think there's something to the idea like preteen girls have a better understanding sooner of how like fleeting the world is, and how like the world is not built to keep you safe. The world is not built to keep you in a lot of ways that I think lots of teenagers today are realizing that the country is not built to keep them safe.
It is weird to see 12-year-olds be like, climate change is the number one problem that we're facing, with like data and shit.
Yeah.
And then you remember you at 12 and you're like, oh shit. I got invited to homecoming.
The things you shouldn't have to worry about it, like there are lots of things that young women shouldn't have to worry about that they do anyway. And that's just the reality of the world. And that shift that you make in your brain, and I'm sure that happens to young men as well, of like, the world is always a fight. It's always on the defense. It's never meant to be, it is not a home. The world is not a home. Yeah, it's never going to be easy.
The first noble truth, life ain't easy.
Life ain't easy.
The second noble truth, Matthew McConaughey, just keep living.
Just keep living.
Those are the two.
But like the difference between like, it should be this way, but it's not. And so then that opens you up to all the other sort of fragilities. And I think that potentially, like, when you're already that open to being afraid of the world, then the logical conclusion of your fear is like, I'm going to die. And probably.
No, I think it's strange. I do think it's strange for a young woman not to grow up thinking the world is unjust. You know, and that has to be in the back of your mind just all the time, that I will be treated unjustly.
It's a matter of when.
Yeah.
And how much armor that you have to be able to sidewind it. And it sucks.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. It's great.
But yeah, I think it goes hand in hand, but I also like to think that hopefully it is not too gendered the way that anxiety happens to people. Yeah.
I don't think, I mean, you know, gendered is a way of saying cultural. I feel, you know, like you say gendered, but that doesn't mean women or men. It means the culture does this to you.
Yeah.
Both women and men. It's a team effort to make you feel miserable.
The prevailing airs of the water you swim in is always going to be like a little bit a little bit poisoned. Like, well, I don't love that, but I am swimming in it, so.
So let me ask you one more question, and then we're gonna close this out. I would like to ask your experience with talk therapy, because all of the people that I have ever known dealing with talk therapy have said that it is an incredibly good thing after you find like 6 or different therapists and then find one that is a credibly good thing, you know?
Yeah.
So what has your experience with that been like over the years?
So as a child, we had a really good family therapist that I found to be, when you're a therapist dealing with children, so much of it is like helping children think in compartmentalized ways.
Yeah.
Just like focus on putting this fear in this jar and that sort of thing. Like,
yeah, I've always believed 55% of therapists are the worst thing that could happen to a child, and 45% are the best thing. Like
Absolutely.
there's no in between.
No, it is, and it's very difficult. They're very squishy.
Yeah.
Uh, my
Good point.
therapist, and I had my therapist for like 4 years. I was with her for a long time up here. And I say that she wasn't good, and not that she wasn't good. She Where she was in her career, her specialty was dealing with like pretty intense trauma therapy,
Oh, okay.
and then she just had regular patients like
Sure.
me, and
Sure. It's tough
so
to go back and forth.
yeah, and so
Yeah.
she helped me out a lot those first couple years, but then it became increasingly obvious that she I think she probably thought like you don't need to be here anymore.
Right. Right. Right.
But
Right. And that
I
bleeds into her ability to communicate with you.
yeah,
Obviously. Yeah.
and she also used to tell me a lot about her other patients, which is just like I don't think that's appropriate.
That's
uh
no. That's illegal.
no, it's
It's
yeah.
not appropriate.
So let me
It's
tell you
against
about
the
this
law.
patient. It's like you gotta stop. You
This
gotta
is
stop
not
talking to me.
okay, lady.
You gotta stop. Uh, but those first couple of years, what I realized it wasn't that she was that good. She was good for what I needed at the time,
Yeah.
and she did an EMDR, which is like tapping and focusing, like biometrics, like
Totally.
keep your mind off of the things that
Absolutely.
are keeping you. Um, I just needed to talk to any third party, and that's what I discovered. I just
Right.
needed someone to say, "Here's what's happening to me right now," and you are a neutral third party. Here's why I'm thinking the way I'm thinking, and for someone to say like you're valid for thinking this way,
Right.
and just to be like, oh thank God, oh thank God.
I will say I want to say this. Brandalion underscore Breeze in the chat brought up a really good point. She said that she had tried to go to a therapist and she had such a bad experience that it was like it's hard to go back when you've been burned.
Absolutely.
And I was wondering, you've gone back, right?
Back and forth, yeah.
Back and forth. So how, like, has it been extreme situations that has pushed you to go back, or has it been like I need to get down and actually deal with this kind of thing?
It was usually something would happen, like a breakup would happen, and or a series of panic attacks, just like I can't move through the world right now, so I need something. And if that's something, maybe the illusion of movement I've thought would help me, but truly like I need something to help me get on this path of like getting my brain out of this is going to be forever kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah.
And therapists are so difficult because I've gotten rejected by therapists too. Like they'll do intakes and
Sure.
say like I
Oh,
can't.
totally.
Yeah,
What a weird feeling.
especially like you go in
I have a
if
problem. Fuck you.
describing like, oh, I have a fear of abandonment, and they say, well,
Goodbye.
hey, I'm so sorry about that.
The irony of this situation
Oh,
is
oh, I feel so bad. But it's just like, okay, thank you. Uh, and it helped me so much. It really, really did. And having it for as long as I did as well, because sometimes you'll go for months and you feel like you are improving and there's nothing else to say. And then you remember something and you're like, oh, this does impact me every day of my life. And it's something that I only just thought of to talk about, and I need to talk about it right now. But the uh, like the bad experiences make it so difficult. So
sure.
like the only way that I've really been able to move through it, or even the idea, I don't want to start over again, but treating it as like taking the stakes out of your intake appointment, which
Yeah.
sucks because obviously it's money, and
Sure. Sure.
it's a doctor's appointment, so I mean,
Right.
there's inherently stakes, but trying to divorce that emotion from that initial meeting, but
Yeah.
it's hard. It's very, very hard.
Yeah, I do. I do feel like every time I've gone to a therapist, there's been a like I feel like it could have been over so much faster
Hmm.
if they had just had a jackass hand right outside the door. Like when you walk in, either you walk in all the way or you get smashed by the hand and you don't get to go in. Like at least that would be a funny way to be kicked out of there.
It's
At least I'd be like, fair enough, man. That was well done.
or if at least if they could say like, hey, just so you know, most of my clientele deals with eating disorders.
Right.
If that's not what you're here for, then maybe I'm not the right fit for you. Instead of just taking time to
Yeah.
delve through your entire personal history,
Yeah.
telling a stranger after stranger everything that's wrong with you.
The number one problem with therapists is having to start over.
Mhm.
That's the number one problem.
Oh,
Every
I don't
time
want to start over.
you have a therapist for like 5 years and they're
Uh-huh.
like, I'm retiring. And you go, no,
No.
I'm not going to start over. I'm not
No.
going to be like, when I was 9, I'm not going to do that again.
Mm-mm.
You work for me now.
Because this person has, I've been able to like form opinions together. We have shared opinions of what
Totally.
happened.
Yeah.
But what if this next person does not share the collective opinion that we've made? I don't want to redo my brain. I don't want to do that.
Yeah. It is difficult, and yet it's so valuable.
It's so valuable.
It's the hardest thing in the world, because if you don't get hit first with a good one, you know, like my first psychiatrist prescribed me, I don't even know, Abilify, which at the time was like $1,000 billion or whatever nonsense it was. And I took it for 2 weeks and it was a disaster.
Oh.
Like it fucked my head over. I would drive to work and then fall asleep. You know, I would, in the parking lot, I would go in there and I would forget how to speak. Like I would be like, and they'd be like, oh, that's not good. You know, so that was the first experience I had, a man ruining my life. So it's like, how do you go back to that?
And it's already such hard work. And you're asking someone who is not prepared to be doing work at all to do hard work, to make it a job, to find care that's good for them. Yeah. And it's like truly a chronic illness. And that sucks.
It sucks. And yet, if you do it, it's so good.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's a great place to end. I think people should fucking do it, and maybe you'll succeed.
Do it, but don't be afraid to leave when it's not working. Don't stick with something because of sunk cost.
Absolutely. That's like one of the biggest pieces of advice I've ever given to, because I do a bit about bipolar disease, or I did when I was a comic. I did a bit, and so many people came up to me like, I'm with this person. It's like, no, the first thing you do with a psychiatrist or a therapist is go in there thinking, I'm going to fire this person if they don't do what I tell them to do. Like that kind of thing. And if you do that, you're going to go way better than if you're like, this is a doctor and I should just listen to them.
They're not your boss.
No.
Only you know how you feel. They don't know how you feel.
Nope.
So.
Absolutely.